So my old monitor got like a little red dot, and my father decided his old Mac Mini wasn't good enough anymore because it just didn't have specs and the memory wasn't upgradable. So he decided that he wasn't using this monitor. So I was saying like, if you're not going to use it, then I can use it because like nobody's using it. So I'm using this monitor. Then I had to like calibrate the colors so that I thought the colors were right. But anyway, it's a new monitor. Anyway, the the Ryzen CPU with the stock cooler, the 2600. My initial tests were, and yes, I overclocked the memory a little bit, but the memory isn't as fast as the other memory you can get. And with this motherboard in pretty conservative settings, I'm getting pretty high temperatures for 100% CPU utilization, like 90 degrees Celsius. And this really is too hot, in my opinion. It should, hopefully stay under even 80 Celsius. And what I discovered is this new Blender version 2.8 that came out, lots of improvements in this new Blender version. There is also the option to use both the CPU and the GPU at the same time. So you're looking at a massive savings, because in this computer, I bought a 6-core CPU with 12 logical cores, similar to hyper-threading or symmetrical multi-threading. And there's a debate which one I should have doing this, and it's true that I could save my computers from melting down by making the video card do everything, but at the same time, I don't know what's going to make the CPU totally load, and I don't want the CPU to self-destruct because it's overheating. So I've decided to get a new fan. I'm just hoping that the new fan is going to be better than the one from AMD. So I've been trying to render this little sequence that has some sort of dust cloud blowing from one side and some stuff moving around. And in terms of the time I've been here, it hasn't taken up too much of my time that I've been here, but the computer's been going for, I don't know, something like 18 hours, and it's done 97 frames. So I'm running on 6 CPU threads, and I want to run on 12 because I moved it to 6 so that it wouldn't self-destruct. But in a way, it's just not hyper-threading because it's using 6 and not 12. But I don't know how good the scheduler is. So if I go over to this other computer, I can see the output images, the output frames it's made. And I like to save them as BMPs just in case it crashes. You can just resume. So here I'm going to make a movie out of a bunch of BMPs at 30 frames per second, or a video sequence. I'm not so happy with this video. I might have to change it because it's kind of hard to see what's going on, but it's a little bit on the early side to know. I have to see how it ends. So also what I'm doing is I like to make this other movie, which is the alpha mask, if I want to have a transparency, so that I'm not actually using an alpha channel, but I'm using a second video file to control transparency between, really control transparency and overlay. So again, my biggest fear is that this thing just isn't as good or the same as what I started with. And this is actually a pretty significant disassembly process. The reason why it's going to be so significant is there's a clip that goes underneath the motherboard that the usual fan would connect to. And I could leave it there because I don't think it can get out. It's trapped between the various metal pieces, but I prefer not jiggling around. I feel better if I removed it. So that means I'm going to have to at least lift the motherboard off the screws, off the risers, and pull out that tab. So I'm going to have to at least do that, if not totally pull the motherboard out. It means I'm going to have to pull the cards off and the things, the hold down the graphic card. So it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. So yeah. So I was looking at these and I'm going like, oh wow, maybe it's got what I need, right? But the instructions say that's for an Intel one, and this one is for the AM4. This one here is for the AM4, and it's too bad because that means I'm going to take the thing off the bottom. I mean, if these ones had worked, but I don't see a lot suggesting that they're the same, and I'm certainly not gonna try. Those look a lot like the stock cooler mounting system. Yeah, so we've got a real problem here because in the earlier versions of the AMD sockets, they had two little tabs on the edges, and I'm not seeing those tabs on. This is my motherboard here, and I'm not seeing those tabs on that CPU. I mean, they should be on both ends unless they're underneath, and they should be sticking out. So I don't see that. So the only thing I can really think of is that their instructions are wrong, or they don't really support it, and they say they support it. Oh, wait a minute. Let's take a look here. Oh, hey. Wait a minute, these are the original mountain brackets. Did I keep those? Hope the hell I kept those. Because it looks like they're going to the original mounting brackets that came with it. And see there in this part here and that part there. And yeah, I'm going to try to find those. I don't know if I have those anymore. But if those are what it's connecting to, I've got a real problem because I really need to have those. Wow, we're in luck because I think we have them, and this means I'm going to have a big savings in time because I'm back to the situation where I don't have to remove the things underneath. And these would be the things that they're connecting to that screw into the top. And I did fortunately save those. I have the screws and everything. So I've got the screws, I've got everything. Looks like this is going to be a lot easier than I thought. So we're looking good at this point. Yeah, I used to have some problems that the stuff would come out of the bottle and go on the wall and stuff. So I put this in this little container so like I can't do anything wrong. But I mean, it's been like 12 years of making this constantly, and it's never really done anything wrong. But it isn't ready yet. I'd say, I don't know, 3 days. Yeah, so first thing, I want to make sure that this thing can actually fit in this case. That's kind of hard to do with the original thing on there. But let's say it's you're good for maybe an inch more. So yeah, and then it's got these little pins here that come out. It's going to be pretty tight. Let's see if there's any. The last thing I want to do is screw up this wire here. I don't want to, yeah, I can't. I have to really get the other one out before I can see. I mean, I could just measure it. I could like literally measure it with a some sort of ruler, and that would probably do it. Yeah, so sometimes metric is just easier. So let's see, what do we got? Well, let's just do it here. We probably got about 14. What is it? Here we're going to say 16 centimeters. So it's got to be under 16 centimeters. It is 15.2 centimeters. So I think that's going to be very close, but make it. Yeah, so I have to unlock one of these little cable management things. Like I put these all together, but you don't want to pierce a wire when you want to take them off. So you have to defeat the mechanism, the plastic locking mechanism. And sometimes it's tricky, but so far I've never punctured a thing. Yeah, the graphic card here, I think this is the power line. I saw it differently, but the power line here appears to be a solid yellow, and this one's a striped yellow. And this power supply is symmetrical in two branches, so I wanted to make sure they're on two different branches. And because if you don't, then you're going to blow the supply because you're on one branch that can't handle the wattage. So I think I did that right, but it's the opposite of one of the magazines said what to do. Yeah, so I got that little clip out. It came out pretty cooperatively. CPU, or the old heatsink, the race spiral one provided by AMD, came out, but again, I had to, seems to be the way to really do it is just wiggle it sideways very gently and pull up on it at the same time, not being very careful, because the last thing you want to do is rotate the pins on this chip. So I'm probably going to take this chip out here, just make sure it's okay. Make sure the socket's okay. You know, I really don't like putting this force on this stuff, but pull the chip out. Okay. How that works. But there's the chip, and I took stuff off the Q-tip, and I'm not going to mess with the chemicals, but I took a quick look at the underside, and it looks pretty good. I don't see any problems there. Always completely stressful. It's obvious that the mounting clip's going to have a lot of pressure on it. And I guess it's an elastic material, so it kind of cracks for whatever dimensioning problems you'd have. Elastic metal material. It's one of those, one of those push it down kind of clip-in things I just hate. And gonna have to put some compound on there, and yeah, I sincerely hope this works because it put a lot of pressure on this chip. But here we go. Please work. That really scared me. It's like, what is it? It thinks it's something different? Why would it think it's something different? Why? New CPU installed. How does it know? Oh, wow, that's freaky. Yeah, it was like so much pressure on that thing, but it got in. It's just, oh my god. It's so frustrating. Yeah, it's like a little demon computer. I actually got this this motherboard because it could take some PCI cards. Not many of them do, so I could use my AutoG, which I use the KX drivers for. Well, so far the memory test is working properly. I'm glad to see the computer is working. I was a little concerned when it took a long time for it to turn on. Better. Okay, well, I'm convinced it's going to stay somewhere around 70 as a maximum. We're at 70 right now. It's gone sort of up and down. So I haven't seen anything above 70. So I'm going to say that's minus 15 Celsius at least, if not more. So again, this is regarding this, this economical choice I got here at Canada Computers, the GAMMAX 400 Red, and it replaces the provided AMD whatever it is, cooler.